fought back yet again. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times, which he had Brian Friedman on to discuss, saying it had done a defamatory report on Blake Lively's claims that she was allegedly harassed by this guy when they shot the movie. It ends with us.
All of that relevant info that Justin's put out and the evidence and the context and her using sexy, et cetera, all can come to play. I mean, we have now evidence now where Ryan Reynolds is seemingly admits that his 7-year-old daughter was cast as Kid Pool, saying, suck Wolverine's D off. And then the director's laughing. Yeah, she didn't even really want to do it, and we forced her to do it, and there were 400 versions of it. Many of us are watching that going like, my God, that's horrific. But sexy was the line for Blake.
In that claim, they said the Times distorted the truth. They did not report text messages which were full and complete, which showed a very different meaning than the snippets that Blake Lively put.
Brian Friedman was asked about it by Harvey Levin on TMZ, and he said, well, we don't know. We'll see which way this case goes. And I'm going, what do you mean you don't know? That would be like the very first thing I would do. I would depose Taylor Swift against Blake Lively, because first and foremost, no matter how you feel about Taylor Swift, you have to recognize and respect.
In this lawsuit with Blake Lively, because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his test.
Fans are beginning to question their long-held admiration for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds following a bombshell expose by Megyn Kelly. Allegations claim the couple carefully built their wholesome, family-friendly image to climb the Hollywood ladder, while allegedly sidelining others, including actor Justin Baldoni. Behind the scenes, their behavior reportedly tells a very different story. As more insiders speak out, the backlash is growing, and many are starting to doubt the authenticity of Hollywood's so-called golden couple. With mounting evidence, people are now asking, was their charm a cover for a far more calculated ambition?
Well-connected source close to Taylor tells TMZ Taylor came to Blake's apartment at the time Blake told her to, not knowing anyone else would be there. In other words, Taylor had no idea there'd be a meeting going on. And I wonder if Taylor knows all this editing nonsense of Blake refusing to let Justin make his movie and I'm not going to give you Taylor's song. I'm not going to give you Taylor's song. You mean girl bully. If this is real, Blake Lively, you deserve all of this. This is a reckoning she needs to hear. This isn't bullying. This isn't harassment. This is accountability, girl.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have long been admired for keeping their children out of the spotlight, but new claims suggest their privacy stance may be more strategic than sincere. While the couple insists they shield their kids from fame to protect them, emerging details reveal a pattern of media manipulation, carefully timed publicity, and a meticulously curated family brand. For years, they've controlled every image tied to their 4 children, James, Inez, Betty, and their newest baby, presenting themselves as protective parents. But a closer look at the timeline reveals a different story. Those rare, candid family moments often surface, just as one of them is promoting a new project or facing a PR challenge. For example, around the time Deadpool 3 was gaining buzz, conveniently timed family photos appeared online. When Blake was launching her lifestyle brand, paparazzi photos captured a polished family stroll, complete with styled outfits and visible product placements. These moments, far from spontaneous, appear to be part of a calculated PR playbook. Even pregnancy announcements follow this pattern. When Blake revealed she was expecting their 4th child, it coincided perfectly with reshoots on Ryan's latest film, diverting attention from negative headlines. And in many family photos, sharp-eyed fans have noticed subtle but clear branding. Blake's Betty Buzz drinks casually placed, or the kids wearing gear from brands the couple supports. Their children, though never directly shown, have become part of a broader marketing strategy. Adding fuel to the fire, several paparazzi have shared stories that challenge the couple's image. One photographer said they'd receive anonymous tips on where to find the family, along with strict instructions. Capture the family moment, but not the kids' faces. Another noted that these coincidences always lined up with major career events, calling it a predictable routine. The most revealing claims came from Megyn Kelly's recent podcast, where she shared alleged texts from Blake's former assistant. These messages detailed how family outings were staged weeks in advance, down to outfits and branded items, while social media posts publicly condemned invasions of privacy. Kelly called it a textbook case of Hollywood hypocrisy, building a brand around family life while posing as victims of media overreach. Far from innocent, Lively and Reynolds' image as protective parents may actually be part of a well-crafted plan, one that uses their family to quietly fuel their careers, all under the guise of shielding their children from the spotlight.
This was one of those clips that just really shows the manipulation behind Blake. Not only did she steal this movie from Justin in post, which is clear, and took this rough cut, she went to stream it at this book con, and it seems like, judging by this clip, you tell me, even Sony wasn't involved in this. Listen to this.
Brandon hasn't seen it, so we're going to sit through it.
We just manifested that.
But and just know, it's literally, this is not a bit. It's literally not done. So to be honest, what really happened is we were like, we're going to show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're going to show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're going to show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, they don't fucking care. Let's just show them the movie.
Because you're going to go again, aren't you? You're going to go watch it in theaters too.
I don't know. Don't you guys care that the movie be finished and that Justin's take be finished? Look at this. Colleen, Brandon, Blake. Where's Justin? Why was Justin not only she's not allowed to be in any of these interviews, but then she's out there stealing hard drives. That's what she did here to go spread the word on this movie.
Twice.
And they were like, it's true. They were like, if everything's not perfect and it's not done, and what if we're going to change things? I was like, these are the people who authored the success of the book. You guys are what matter. And you guys seeing the movie is so important to us. So we're so excited to show you guys.
You brought us so many gifts.
Way to take over, Blake. Literally just took it from him. This movie, this book, you mean, that Justin found first, that Colleen told him to star in, that he oversaw with his production company for all this time.
This clip reveals just how deep the manipulation runs with Blake Lively. Not only did she allegedly hijack a film project from actor Justin Baldoni and post, but she took a rough cut of the film and streamed it at BookCon without full studio backing. From what we're seeing here, even Sony appeared to be left out of the loop. Listen closely. Blake says they were told by the studio to only show 20 minutes, but she pushed ahead to screen the full film anyway. They don't care, she claimed. Let's just show them the movie. But where was Justin, the star and original creative force? Nowhere in sight. He wasn't allowed in interviews, and sources say Blake took control of everything, even securing the hard drives herself to showcase the film without proper clearance. Twice. This move wasn't just bold, it was strategic. And it ties into a bigger pattern. Those carefully timed family photo ops. Just the tip of the iceberg. The rise of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds wasn't powered by talent alone. According to insiders, it was fueled by meticulous social strategy, calculated timing, and an almost Machiavellian approach to career growth. Back when Blake was still Gossip Girl Serena and Ryan was recovering from Green Lantern's failure, few imagined they'd become Hollywood royalty. But their rise wasn't random. It was ruthlessly planned. Former publicist Sarah Coleman revealed that the couple kept a spreadsheet tracking celebrity relationships by career value. Color-coded names indicated which connections were useful, and relationships were formed or dropped based on leverage, not friendship. One standout example: their sudden friendship with Taylor Swift. Insiders claim Blake and Ryan barely knew her before appearing in her viral July 4th photos, just ahead of Blake's lifestyle brand launch. They needed Taylor's audience, said reporter Jason Miller. In exchange, Swift benefited from their wholesome family image, softening her own reputation during a crucial time. Leaked texts from Blake's former assistant show her strategizing these appearances. Need to be seen at minimum 3 events with tea before announcement. One message read, the goal? Convert Swift's followers into customers. Even their playful feud with Hugh Jackman was reportedly staged. Marketing executive Alicia Reyes confirmed those social media spats were scripted months ahead during promotional meetings. What fans saw as spontaneous fun was actually precision marketing. Meanwhile, Old friendships quietly vanished. Blake, once close to her sisterhood of the traveling pants co-stars, now has almost no public interaction with them. They helped craft her girl-next-door image, said image consultant Diego Santos. But when she moved to luxury branding, they no longer fit her narrative. Their social media game is no less calculated. Analysts found that their viral posts often dropped within 48 hours of major news from other celebrities. When Chris Pratt and Katherine Schwarzenegger announced their engagement, Ryan posted a viral photo with Jackman that stole the spotlight. The most damning evidence? Leaked internal emails and texts. During the sale of Ryan's aviation gin, he suggested releasing a staged pregnancy announcement to distract from controversy. Backup plan if needed, he wrote, attaching family photos. In another email, he told his team to plant stories about his bond with Dwayne Johnson. Need casual photos by Thursday. Establish relationship timeline before press tour. Blake and Ryan didn't just climb the Hollywood ladder, they built it step by step. Every post, every friendship, every feud was a calculated move in their larger plan. And if someone got pushed aside along the way, that was just part of the strategy.
Ice pool revelations that sort of confirm his hatred of ice pool and everything else. This is the true shocker right here. So here it is, guys.
Poor guy.
Our fight isn't with you.
When I want your opinion, I'll take Wolverine's dick out of your mouth.
That's kid.
Guiltily, that is my daughter, Inez.
I'm so sorry we have to admit that.
You didn't have to admit it. You didn't have to admit it, for one. You could have just kept that a secret, which I probably would have done, and let that come out if the kid wants to admit it later, right? Like, for one. You didn't have to admit it, but he gleefully is about to admit it, and it's worse.
I am father of the year over here for allowing her to say such language, which, to her credit, she really didn't want to say. And then came back later and said, I want to say it now, when I started looking at other people to play.
Yeah, but right.
Some other kid's going to take your part, Inez. You sure you don't want to do Daddy's disgusting line?
And to our discredit, we made Nezzy do, I'm not shitting you, 70 to 500 versions of that line.
Yeah, I'm going to pay for that later.
Blake Lively there as Lady.
Yes, you are.
Dude, but Justin Baldoni's the problem.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds aren't just Hollywood royalty. They've quietly built a business empire that's as carefully choreographed as their public image. While Blake has been praised as a self-made entrepreneur thanks to her non-alcoholic mixer brand, Betty Buzz, insiders say there's far more strategy and far less independence behind the scenes than most people realize. When Betty Buzz launched in 2021, Blake portrayed it as her personal passion project. I don't drink, she told the press. That might sound strange, especially being married to a gin lover. The message? Betty Buzz was hers alone, separate from Ryan's famous aviation gin brand. But according to marketing executive Caroline Torres, who worked with both companies, that story isn't the full truth. Ryan was involved from the very beginning, Torres revealed. Not just supporting Blake, he was actively calling the shots. In fact, the same team behind Aviation Gin's viral success was also steering Betty Buzz, using nearly identical marketing strategies while publicly pushing the idea that Blake was doing it all herself. And the similarities go beyond marketing. Financial documents from a former Betty Buzz investor show the brand was funded using the same shell companies and tax tactics Ryan used for aviation. When questioned, Blake's team declined to comment. Even more suspicious? The timing of Betty Buzz's major announcements. Analysts noticed a pattern. Key Betty Buzz news always seemed to drop just as Ryan was facing negative press. For example, when a stunt controversy hit Deadpool 2, Blake suddenly announced a major expansion for her brand, shifting attention away from Ryan. It was like watching a magician repeat the same trick, said analyst Michael Chen. The two brands played off each other to control the media cycle. Former Betty Buzz operations manager Thomas Wright added that Blake often presented polished marketing ideas in meetings, but he'd already heard Ryan's team discuss the same ideas days earlier. She made it seem like it was her vision, Wright said, but Ryan had already laid it all out. The most revealing piece? Leaked emails from Sarah Donovan, a former executive at Aviation Gin. In them, Ryan instructed his team to apply Aviation's branding playbook to Blake's project. Quietly. One message read, We need full separation in public. No visible ties between the brands. She gets all the entrepreneur credit. Publicly, Blake was celebrated as a woman breaking into the male-dominated beverage industry. But behind closed doors, Ryan reportedly had final say on everything: branding, packaging, messaging, and partnerships. Beverage consultant Rebecca Hawley didn't mince words. This was a corporate illusion. Separate brands, same control center. What Blake and Ryan have created is more than a power couple brand. It's a perfectly controlled dual enterprise built on perception, precision, and performance. And Blake's journey as an independent businesswoman? It might just be her most convincing role yet.
I have Justin's reply, and a lot of people are still trying to figure out this 47.1 law. I know you've even looked more into it. It's new.
The reaction is because of how detailed Baldoni's lawsuit with his own versions and the full text message threads and the full transcript of what was going on and these stills. I don't think she has a chance. What was very well argued by Baldoni's attorneys is that there has to be a showing of malice and that now it's going to go back to her, to Lively. Lively had a reasonable basis for her claim in the first place. That's one. Two, it has to be on the face of his complaint. And what that means is that the judge reading the complaint in this motion has to assume everything that's in it and all those many, many, many pages is true. And then he makes a ruling. So what the judge has to read is go, okay, every single thing, these text messages, these allegations are true. The judge would have to make a determination that somehow she had a good faith, reasonable basis. And I don't think he can do that.
So is Brian's sort of quote legit? Like, do you think this is a massive threat to others? Like, is she trying to play this law, this Me Too law, which we're going to go through more depth, to like actually try and get her way? Do you agree with his urgency?
Yes, I believe she is misusing it, let's call it, in order for a underlying agenda and a fight that she picked that probably she regrets picking.
What started as a dream project quickly unraveled into one of Hollywood's most tense and toxic productions. When Blake Lively signed on to star in the film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us, fans were thrilled. The best-selling novel, which tackles serious themes like domestic abuse and self-empowerment, seemed destined for success. With Justin Baldoni set to direct and co-star, having acquired the rights through his company Wayfarer Studios, the team looked perfect on paper. But according to multiple sources, things behind the scenes took a sharp turn. Script supervisor Sarah Mitchell recalls that problems surfaced right from the first table read. Blake came in with pages of changes, she said. At first, Justin welcomed her input, but it soon stopped feeling like collaboration and started feeling like control. Mitchell explained that Blake began delivering script changes as if they were final decisions, not suggestions. As filming went on, Blake's presence on set reportedly became dominant. Set designer Marcus Jenkins described a major disagreement over a key scene. Justin wanted to stay true to the book, but Blake pushed for a completely different approach. When Justin stood his ground, Blake's attitude shifted. The next day, she arrived with her own team of consultants and began overriding his direction altogether. Production assistant Emma Torres explained how this power struggle confused the entire cast. Actors didn't know who to listen to, Blake or Justin. It was like there were two competing directors, she said. The tension didn't stop when filming wrapped. In post-production, Blake allegedly tried to access the film's raw footage without permission. When her request was denied, sources say she bypassed Justin altogether and contacted studio executives directly. Suddenly, meetings about the film were happening without Justin even knowing, said Vanessa Clark, a post-production coordinator. Then came the public fallout. Two entertainment reporters shared screenshots showing that Blake's PR team was quietly sharing negative stories about Justin's behavior on set, stories that painted him as difficult to work with. Crew members say the irony was that these same complaints actually described Blake's own actions. Social media analyst Jordan Williams noted a pattern in Blake's posts leading up to the film's release. She tagged or mentioned every cast member except Justin. That wasn't random. That was deliberate. Even during press interviews, body language expert Patricia Morris observed clear signs of tension. Blake avoided eye contact, leaned away, and kept physical distance whenever Justin spoke. That kind of behavior is very intentional. Perhaps the most revealing detail came from leaked text messages between Blake and her stylist. One read, "Need to upstage him tomorrow. Wear the red. Arrive 15 minutes late, so all cameras are on us." Another message said, "Perfect. Entertainment tonight is using our talking points. Keep pushing the narrative that Justin was impossible to work with. We need this out before the reviews drop." One crew member, who chose to stay anonymous, shared a final unsettling moment. She told us casually that she'd make sure Justin never directed another big film again. It was like she didn't even see it as a big deal. That's when I realized it wasn't just a conflict. It was personal.
That relevant info that Justin's put out and the evidence and the context and her using sexy, et cetera, all can come to play. I mean, we have now evidence now where Ryan Reynolds is seemingly admits that his 7-year-old daughter was cast as Kid Pool, saying, suck Wolverine's D off. And then the director's laughing. Yeah, she didn't even really want to do it, and we forced her to do it, and there were 400 versions of it. Many of us are watching that going like, my God, that's horrific. But sexy was the line for Blake. Can all of that come into play, and do you think it will?
I don't think it'll come into play at trial. I think there's not enough of a connection between what Blake and Baldoni and Blake were doing. I don't think it's enough of a connection versus what ended up being decided on another film between two other people, even though one of them is kind of related. I think the judge will say that's too prejudicial because the reaction you and I just got, right? And then if the jury hears that, well, what does that really have to do with what happened between Baldoni and Lively? That's my opinion. Judges are very guarded with regards to things that are too emotional for people to forget what they're really supposed to be concentrating on.
Fair enough. But her saying sexy to Justin earlier, absolutely connected and relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Giving that's what's so weird, because even as Dina was saying it, I do feel like a set on a movie is a different employment. It's like it's a different work. Like I've been there. I worked on a set of a Playboy TV show as the caterer way back, and it was clear the rules were different on that show than others, right? Because there's people walking around without any clothing and stuff. Like this industry is different than, say, a bank. So will the judge and jury be able to factor that into this claim?
Yes, if the lawyers bring out that narrative. Also, another thing, and I don't mean to open up this can of worms, but there's a lot of, if things are related to what's called the creative process, for instance, a comedian in a writer's room saying things that are offensive, but it's part of the creative process for the show, that is actually protected speech under the First Amendment, but they haven't even got.
Behind one of Hollywood's most beloved marriages lies a carefully constructed performance designed to market, influence, and profit. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are known for their charming social media banter, playful red carpet moments, and seemingly spontaneous birthday tributes, but insiders say none of it is as authentic as it appears. According to former household assistant Melissa Torres, even their viral Instagram posts are scripted. Those birthday messages? They're pitched by a team of writers weeks in advance, she reveals. Blake and Ryan revised them multiple times to strike the perfect mix of humor and warmth. Former PR staffer James Peterson says their talk show appearances follow the same formula. Before any interview, they get detailed scripts with pre-approved stories and jokes. I've watched them rehearse fake, spontaneous moments, like joking about their kids, to make it feel real. Body language expert Dr. Vivian Chun has analyzed countless clips of the couple and points out stark contrasts. In candid paparazzi photos, they keep physical distance, avoid eye contact, and seem disconnected. But at public events, their affection is exaggerated, almost like they're playing roles. That shift, she says, is too consistent to be coincidence. Social media analyst Jordan Fisher tracked their activity and found a clear pattern. Their couple content spikes by 78% in the 2 weeks before a movie release or product launch, but drops off during quiet periods. The message? Their romance ramps up when there's something to sell. Inside their home, image management rules everything. Former nanny Rebecca Williams described staff being restricted from certain rooms during private moments, only to watch Blake and Ryan re-emerge smiling and affectionate if others were present. It felt staged, like they were stepping into character, she said. PR strategist David Cohen confirms their marriage is used as a PR tool. They have a playbook called Operation Couple Goals, rolled out whenever one of them faces backlash. It's a distraction tactic, flood the public with intimate, feel-good content to shift attention. The most revealing detail comes from former Reynolds publicist Amanda Chin. I wrote their marriage scripts. These were detailed instructions on how to act, when Ryan should touch Blake's back, when she should laugh, when to share a candid look.
It was all for show.
What the public sees as Hollywood's golden couple, insiders say, is less about love and more about image, crafted, rehearsed, and monetized for maximum influence and reach.
Baldoni's alleged to have done is not like one super serious, like the boob grab, right? It's not that. It's these kind of like nefarious things, which shouldn't happen in the workplace, but they have to happen over a course of time to meet the legal standard. Now, once this underlying story kind of comes up, her motivations for bringing these quote unquote unlawful things during those stories of them trying to take over the film now give context to his counterclaim. And I believe that it is a huge deal for the judge to see in order for the judge to make a determination. Now, what is very interesting and most people don't kind of understand is that the judges at this stage where they're just like, well, I'm just looking at your guys' complaints. The judge can't really make a credibility finding. He has to assume what is in the complaint is true. So that is why Baldoni's attorneys are like, this doesn't have a shot because of how detailed the complaint by Baldoni is. The judge cannot make an opposite finding because he has to, or she has to make an assumption that everything in that very well-detailed complaint is true, and it just can't happen for Lively the way
Those so-called marriage scripts were just the beginning. When Megyn Kelly revealed private texts allegedly from Blake Lively, the mask slipped. Blake's former assistant provided messages showing a side of Blake that was cold, calculated, and far from the wholesome image fans know. In one thread, Blake mocked an unnamed actress as desperate trash and joked about stealing her spotlight, just days before posting a glowing tribute to her online. Blake's texts also showed contempt for her fans. After a meet and greet, she wrote, "These people are delusional. I need to shower for a week." Hours later, she posted, "You are the reason I do what I do." Behind the scenes, she and Ryan plotted to sabotage other stars like Emma Stone and Jennifer Lawrence, even timing Blake's product launches to overshadow their announcements. Even Blake's feminist advocacy took a hit. In one text, she dismissed equal pay as pointless PR, using it only to negotiate a higher salary. Insiders say their perfect marriage, parenting, and business image is all calculated PR. Now that the truth is coming out, their credibility may be gone for good, and that's what really scares them.